bonjour, and welcome to the Amateur Detective Club. This club is exactly how it sounds. A bunch of amateurs talking about their favorite mysteries. So if you encounter a real mystery or a murder, contact the proper authorities. Do not come to us. We do not know what we are doing. But enjoy the program. Allons-y. Let us begin.
I now call this meeting the Amateur Detective Club to order. My name is Tristan Miller, a saucy sleuth.
I'm Melissa Meli, the spy.
Today's show is not brought to you by Audible. I looked at the link, doesn't work, so we'll figure it out later. Womp
okay.
womp. Oh well. So instead, you can go to patreon.com/adcpod and give us money there if you want.
Yeah.
I've been pretty good about getting the episodes up a week in advance and some bonus content and stuff like that. Also part of the Scavenge Network. You can go to scavengenetwork.com. And check out all their super podcasts, including stuff like Spooky Spouses, and there's one, I can never get this one right. There's it's a complicated name, but it's something Haberdashery, which is a fun podcast. I've heard a couple episodes of that one. Enjoyed it.
Yeah. And you can follow us on social media at ADCPod, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can email us. amateurdetectiveclub@gmail.com.
There you go.
Yeah.
I have a new podcast called You Got a Friend in Me, a Randy Newman podcast. We're 3 episodes in. My friend Scott Interrante and I go through the albums, and then I have other guests come in to talk about their favorite songs. And I got a couple of people lined up that I'm very excited about, so you should hop on this train now.
Hey.
Have you ever wanted to be on the ground floor of something?
Okay, you've never seen It's a Wonderful Life, and you won't get the reference I want to make, so I guess...
I did that on purpose to upset you, because I knew it was from It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay.
So...
That's a weird thing to know about.
Do you know why?
Mm.
The My Brother and Me TV program. They make a reference to it, and then they explain it.
Right, okay.
But I've never seen the movie.
I know.
Still haven't since last week, so enjoy that. You enjoyed your trip, though. The driving was fine.
The driving was fine. I did not hit a deer.
Though there was an option to.
Well, I mean, at that point, I would have had to swerve out of the road. I was on
You ever get so obsessed with killing a deer that you drive off road, folks?
So... It was very dark. We were about 10 minutes from our Airbnb. I had been driving for like 5.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And we were so close to the end. And it was pitch dark outside. And we were driving along this little country road. And in my periphery, I saw the face of a big, majestic deer who looked like they wanted to cross the road. And... it scared the hell out of me. And fortunately, it had decided not to cross the road. No one died.
Including the deer.
Yeah, no. And I did swerve a little bit because when I saw that big, beautiful face, I went, oh my God. And then righted myself very quickly. It was too close.
Yeah.
But thankfully there was no jumping out and all was fine. And then the next when we left on our way home, very early in the trip, I had to break for some chickens they were roosters, but they just wanted to
Cocks, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Leisurely cross.
A leisurely cock walk.
Yeah. Right across the road as I stopped the car and when
they got to the other side.
They did. So yeah, I drove across the George Washington Bridge twice.
Fun.
And
Can
managed
you believe he built that whole thing himself?
Yeah, I kept fairly calm, and my friend commended me for my driving, which was very nice because, I don't drive a lot, and so it made me pretty nervous.
So, folks, if Melissa and I seem a little scatterbrained, slap happy, for point of reference, my bedtime reminder just went off on my phone.
Yeah.
It's 10:30 as of this recording. It keeps getting later and later.
because we keep talking about other things other
Yeah.
than this episode, and we
And-
decided to finally start recording.
Yeah, and we can't talk about the things after the episode because they'll just creep into the episode. We have to get
Yeah.
all talked out. It's a pain. Our process is bad.
We need help. We need Tyler.
Or we need to just start. Yeah,
we need
do.
someone who can focus.
Number one, yes. Number two, we should just be recording on Saturday mornings like we normally do, and then it wouldn't be an issue because then when it gets to be at 3 hours afterwards, it'd be 3 p.m. You know what I'm saying? But we've been choosing late night.
Yeah.
Detective Club.
And now
Nice.
we're here. We decided to split a Coke Zero to keep us awake, and
Yeah.
it's not working. for
Really?
me. Not really.
Mm.
But that is okay. We're going to get through it.
Oh, speaking of uncomfortable rides, it wasn't that bad. I sat in the middle seat on the way to New Jersey this last weekend. My friend Scott Interrante, aforementioned, who does the Randy Newman podcast with me,
Yeah.
every year he creates a Christmas album. And so I went out
Oh,
to New Jersey and I helped him with that. And I wrote and performed a parody of Short People
Fun.
about Christmas elves. So look for
Oh.
that on my social media feed because it is one of my favorite things I ever did. And also, I realized like we had the studio for a day, and I wrote two and a half parody songs. Like I helped someone else,
Yeah.
and then sang on something. I was like, oh, so if you put my back against the wall, I can write a song.
Yeah.
You heard me almost swear, but I caught it.
Uh-huh.
So that was a nice thing to know about myself.
That is neat.
Yeah, but it's about elves unionizing. It's a very good song, and I hope hope you all enjoy it when it comes out.
Oh, that's great.
Just throw me into the sun after that, please.
So we're gonna do a Christmas episode, sort of. It's Christmas today, tomorrow, whenever you're listening to this or something. Close enough. Whatever.
Who gives a damn?
But this
Time is a construct, so it's always Christmas.
it is in your heart if you believe hard enough.
In Jesus specifically.
Or just, the power of
Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior.
generosity.
Goodwill towards people.
Yeah. So we decided to, for our
And I cannot stress this enough, Jesus Christ only.
we decided for our Christmas episode to we're really throwing a Hail Mary here.
There are not a lot of Christmas mysteries, Christomies, if you will.
I mean, we could have tried harder and figured this out, but we didn't.
But instead,
instead we decided to do Sherlock Gnomes.
because I love punishment, I love self-flagellation.
So here's the reasoning behind this.
Oh, you had a reason?
Gnomes are kind of like elves. Do you know David the Gnome? Do you know that show?
No, I do not.
That was my gnome introduction.
Oh, my mother hates garden gnomes. She thinks they're tacky, ugly, stupid, sleepy, dopey, and talk. And so when this came out, she was so mad because she hates to even think about a gnome.
Oh, wow.
It's really funny.
That's very
It's really, really amusing. I should get her a gnome for Christmas. It's a bit. But she would like take this back. She would be like, I'm not keeping this in the home.
Oh, that's very funny.
We are not a gnome home.
Not a gnome home.
She hates them so much. She hates them. And so my first exposure to the concept of a gnome was look at that ugly thing. Look at that ugly thing.
Oh,
which I
okay.
hear is similar to some people's experiences with other people in the South. So
Oh no. Yikes.
it is nighttime and I'm feeling a little loose. So I have in my phone, on the the Notes app application, what I've in a fantastic move
Yes.
dubbed Sherlock Gnomes.
Sure.
So I have taken copious notes, not about the plot at all, because, and I cannot stress this enough, I do not give a flying fuck about this movie at all. This was a bit, and we'll see if it's worth it.
Okay, so
this is the sequel to Romeo and Juliet.
yeah, which I
You
mean,
didn't know that?
okay, I didn't realize it was a sequel to
You
Romeo
thought it
and
was
Juliet.
like an expanded universe thing.
Yes, I did.
Oh, that's so funny. But no, Romeo and the titular Romeo and Juliet are main characters in this film.
Yes,
And that
voiced
was-
by James McAvoy and
Okay.
Emily Blunt.
So here's the thing. We got to talk about the cast now.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
people they were able to pull for this. And this is one of my good notes, is one of my favorite parts of the movie is Michael Caine, who plays Papa Gnome, whatever the hell the character's name is.
Yep.
His voice is so dead. His performance is so, it's like, I couldn't be prouder of you. Like, that's the amount of energy. And I know it's not a choice. He's not making it. He wants to die. And you're like, the garden's gonna be yours now. It's just that. And it's so funny. Not funny enough to make me laugh, and I'll get to that later.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
it is very funny. And Dame Maggie Smith is here.
Yep.
And Chiwetel Ejiofor is here
Yeah.
as Watson.
As Watson.
And Johnny Depp is here as Sherlock. The amount, the star power in this movie,
Is truly remarkable.
untenable, unacceptable. I almost feel bad for these people because of course I had the thought of like, how did they have like money? So much money. It had to be
Yeah.
so much
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I had that thought as well.
money. And so I don't feel bad for them, but I also kind of feel bad for them.
Yeah. So this is okay.
Not to tip my hat too much about the review section of this.
So the thing is this. I hear a lot about that's for kids. Some media like
Oh, sure.
right, like
I say that a lot about Star Wars.
you do. And Disney animated movies oftentimes, that's for kids, sure. But the thing is, certain movies are made in such a way that adults can enjoy them as
Mhm.
well. And do, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, yes. And that's something I want to clarify before y'all come at me. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and it's meant for kids, but is enjoyable by anybody. You can do whatever you want. You can find a lot of joy in kids' media.
Sure.
We watched Adventure Time on this very program, and I'm a fan of that too. Fan
Yeah.
of Steven Universe.
It's great.
Yeah.
Uh
I just don't want people coming at me in my mentions on Twitter.
Right. And I mean, there's a part of me that even kind of takes some issue with the it's for kids narrative. Because, when it's not just for kids, then it kind of becomes for everyone. However, I think
we're talking about an intended audience.
I understand what you mean.
Like, this also happens with other films where you're like, wow, these people are really a fan of this movie. We had no idea that this demographic would like it. Like, for example,
Yeah.
Marvel movies with anybody that wasn't white and a man. I think everyone in the early 2000s were like, oh, wow.
Yeah, everyone likes
Everybody
this. It's
likes
wild.
these movies. Crazy.
Yeah, no, and it's it's totally understandable, but I think it's also there's just a lot of unfortunate, like, expectation that adults should only like very adult things.
Oh,
And
sure.
it's like go jump in a lake. Like I
never had that.
no.
My dad, for my dad's birthday, I got him the film, the Disney film, The Apple Dumpling Gang, and The Computer That Wore Tennis Shoes, because they don't have them on Disney Plus yet. And he loves those movies.
Oh, I don't know them at all.
Oh, they're from like when Disney was only doing live action movies before they
Sure.
really went whole hog into animation.
Yeah.
Like Nutty Professor and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Right. But yes. So, however, this is
This is all to say.
this is all to say this is a kids movie. I think. I hope.
I would love a child's opinion about this
I
film.
want a child's opinion about this. Are you a child? Sorry for saying curse words, but let us know if you like this movie.
Hey, when I said those curse words, it was pretty cool, right? It was rad, right? You got to hear you're a cuss? How cool is that?
Don't say them around your
No, do it.
parents.
They'll laugh. And then they'll ask where, just hear it. And you just say internet. Don't say us. Just say internet.
Right. Okay.
Now, this is my big dunk on this movie. This film, this sequence of things that happens in front of me, because we can't call it a film. In my opinion,
We can call it a movie.
We can't even call it that. This series of events that is animated makes Minions look sophisticated.
It does.
Which at least
in a lot of ways it is.
Minions is like they're doing something.
It's okay. Minions is clever.
I've never seen a Minions. I've seen the first Despicable
Me. Yeah.
which is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Not something I would ever watch again willingly,
Okay.
but fun. There's enough savvy humor.
Right.
Now, I'll also get into that because do we really have to go through the whole plot of this thing?
It's going to be very easy.
Yes. Okay.
We're not going to get in the weeds. We're not going to get in the weeds of a series of
because-
events. That's what we're not going to do tonight.
Thank you. Because there is so I had a thought that I just wanted to share. Oh, right.
Sure.
The whole time I was watching this movie, I was like, wow, I feel like the pitch for this movie was, have you seen the film Flushed Away? Let's take every aspect of that and make it by 10,000% worse. Every fun aspect of that film, they just take a giant dookie on in this movie. And it's so frustrating because I love James McAvoy so much and Chiwetel Ejiofor so much. And I wanted to be like pleasantly surprised by this film.
Yeah, sure.
I was not.
Yeah. Okay. So we are introduced to Sherlock Gnomes and Watson, and they're at a natural history museum, and Moriarty is pulling some scheme.
Moriarty is like the Pillsbury Doughboy, essentially.
Yeah, but
only
pie.
for pies, because we're in jolly old England, aren't we?
Yeah. And
that is something I did appreciate. A lot of working class accents in this film.
James McAvoy is in particular.
Is doing an accent.
Oh my goodness.
He's like, oh mate, what are you talking about?
It's really wild.
Sometimes you can hear that he's still Scottish, but he puts in a really good effort.
He does.
A+.
And I was sitting here, I'm like, it's like watching Bake Off with the accents.
Oh sure.
What a delight. And then I looked up because it's on Amazon Prime, so we get the X-ray thing.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, who's this? Oh, it's one of the hosts from Bake Off.
Oh really? Who?
Matt. I want to say Lucas. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. Very gregarious guy, right?
Yeah. He does lots of impressions, but yeah, he's one of the gnomes.
Stephen Merchant is also here, who is a very good actor and has a very pleasant voice. He's got one of those northern English accents where they still use an R.
Oh yeah.
If you've seen Hot Fuzz, he's the guy with the swans.
Okay.
Just the one swan, actually. It's very fun.
Yeah.
Rating Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh wow.
Because I'm curious. Ooh. Oh. Oh. I want you to guess based off of, let's just start with Rotten Tomatoes. I know we're not even remotely into the film.
38%.
Okay. And for IMDb? They do out of 10.
4.
Okay. And for Metacritic, they do percent.
I'm not familiar with Metacritic, so I'll go with 40%.
Wow. So you're being very generous to this film. Metacritic, 36%.
Okay.
IMDb with the highest ranked, 5.2.
Okay.
Still an F, but a high F. On Rotten Tomatoes, 27%.
Woof.
We often don't look to it because it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
But I was curious because I was like, I remember this movie coming out and people going, oh, that's kind of funny. We even like when it came out in theaters, we were like, we have to do it right. Ha 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 ha. And then heard nothing else about it, and then it like was out of theaters a week later. So I was curious. Oh, now I need to know how much money it made. I'm sorry, I'm obsessed. Now it's turning into an obsession.
So we have some garden gnomes reading a Sherlock Holmes book,
right, this thing.
and we see Sherlock Holmes, Watson, and Moriarty, the pie boy, in a museum. Yes.
In the I don't know if this is how the first one opens. There's the framing device that is quickly forgotten that they're reading a Sherlock Holmes tale. But they do a bunch of other pitches. There's like Indiana Gnomes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first attempt at humor that we get in this film.
Yeah.
That's all. I wanted to note that they
tried.
They tried. They certainly. And then yet on Google 72% of Google users like this film. It made $90 million.
Hey.
You know what? Go for it. Sorry. So we're in the Museum of Natural History in London. Moriarty is threatening to smash some gnomes, which is how they die in this universe, apparently.
Right. Okay. There's a lot of you'll hear, sometimes if they shake hands, you'll hear a little clink of porcelain.
Yeah.
So it's a little Toy Story where, they gotta freeze if someone's around, and at one point Sherlock gets like his face Windexed or whatever.
And he sneezes.
Yeah. So Moriarty is in the museum threatening folks, and a big dinosaur falls on him and smashes them all up.
Yep. And during the sequence, Sherlock is saved by Watson, who has an umbrella that's also a grappling hook, and he gives the grappling hook back to Watson and does not care, is very unfeeling and cold towards Watson.
Yes, as Sherlock Holmes is often portrayed.
Yes.
As a very callous and cold man.
I will say this. They do a great job setting up that we should not like Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
This is by far the most unpleasant version of this character I've ever seen in my life, which is saying something.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the BBC series.
So then we have, I assume, the family from
the garden
Romeo
from the
and
first
Juliet.
one.
It's do not know
the Capulets and the what's-it-faces.
Montagues.
They're merged together now. Because from what I can garner of the first plot, it's basically Romeo and Juliet, except for there's one garden over and then the other garden, and one of them's high class and one of them's low class. I want to get into
Julie Walters?
Yes.
Voices Mrs. Montague. Okay. Wow. Yeah.
And again, the level of people that are in. It made $90 million, which I don't know what its budget is, and we can't get into the weeds of that. Because I will fall down, because I do love Hollywood, unfortunately. And I'll also say this about the film.
Mm-hmm.
The concept, strong. Some of the screenplay story beats are good. I would say this is an unfortunate thing that happens a lot with movies, where the sum of its parts is less than what is on the page.
Yeah. I
think the pitch is great. It's fun. The execution, oh my God.
Yeah. So, they are moving to London, and it's a long way from Stratford-upon-Avon. Cool nod to Shakespeare there.
Yes, there are several cool nods to Sherlock Holmes as well.
Yeah.
In this movie.
I can hear the quotation marks in your voice.
Yeah.
And so
doesn't taste good.
They've moved to London, and they're like, "Don't worry, we'll feel better once we get our gnomes in the garden."
Yeah.
and they put out Romeo and Juliet. They're very cute. They're putting out all.
They are is the thing. They're very cute.
They're actually very cute. Yeah. So everyone gets in the garden. Great, wonderful. So, they're getting accustomed to their new space, and Lord Redbrick, voiced by Michael Caine, and Lady Blueberry, voiced by Dame Maggie Smith.
Do you want to take what the scene is real quick? Go. Okay, Romeo and Juliet. Oh, we've decided that we're too bleeding old, and you have to be come this springtime. We're gonna do a springtime celebration and make you in charge. Isn't that right?
Oh yes, that's right.
That's your Maggie Smith?
I don't know.
Terribly. Weasley. Like, you couldn't even...
I don't know. I'm tired.
Okay, fine. I won't make you do impressions.
Don't make me do impressions.
Okay, so then...
So
for terribly.
We have also Matt Lucas, the gnome, has a crush on someone, and the frog is...
There's a frog gnome piece of porcelain that you would decorate in your lawn, who's Scottish. So begs the question, why is it James McAvoy just allowed to be Scottish?
Why wasn't David Tennant allowed to be Scottish in Sherlock and Doctor Who? And
another very good question. And can I tell you the answer? Showrunners were different at the time.
Yeah, no, I know.
That's why.
So
and also Peter Capaldi said, "I'm not doing that crap."
Yeah. By the way, Ozzy Osbourne is in this.
I know. Because he does. He goes, I don't feel good. I'm in a new place.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Also, there is a gnome with a bikini.
Mankini.
Mankini is his name.
Is the name of the gnome. He seems to be from Barcelona or someplace.
Sure. Why not?
He's from Europe, which is like the joke. And I wonder how well that plays better in the United Kingdom.
I don't know. So they have put...
I don't know. Moving.
They've put Romeo and Juliet in charge of the garden.
Yeah.
And they got to get it ready for winter. It's very important. So Juliet is super duper focused on this. Romeo is like, but let's do it together, honey. And she's like, yeah, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so he devises this plot with the Matt Lucas gnome to go into a flower shop and get her a beautiful orchid. That's the first flower that they ever had together. And he almost gets caught when he goes into this flower shop to get this flower, and she's real mad.
Now, there is a solid gag that does happen, I think, before this, where they're watching the nightly news, right? And they're like, oh, a bunch of gnomes are being stolen. All across of England, all across London, garden gnomes are being stolen in what some people call a very mysterious and terrible incident, and what some other people call a slow news day.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's well written. I didn't laugh, but it's well written.
Yeah. And we also get a scene with Holmes and Watson. Holmes is bored because his enemy Moriarty is dead.
Yes. And then they hear this news, and he's like, it must be.
Right. Like,
which is about what Johnny Depp sounds like in this film.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah. So eventually.
Okay, yeah, who cares? All the gnomes from the garden disappear, and then Sherlock and Watson come to investigate. Can we just skip to that part?
Yeah.
And
basically, Sherlock is like, I know Moriarty says he's dead by
me knowing he's dead.
And however, like, this has got to be Moriarty.
Yeah.
And he sees like an M in the pattern that he's created, and it's all around this one garden, and it's the garden with our friends.
Yes.
Romeo and Juliet in it.
And they have a row about the whole flower thing, and while they're doing that, all the rest of the gnomes get stolen, and then Sherlock and Watson immediately show up and are rude to both of them, and there's a card with an M on it with a clue.
Yeah.
And basically what it comes down to is there's this parallel between the way Juliet is treating Nomeo. I hate that sentence I just said. And the way Sherlock treats Watson of like, they literally both say, this can't wait, but you can, paralleling that, together. And I was like, oh, this is nice, very obvious storytelling, but, again, for a story intended for kids, solid lesson.
Sure, yes.
But then
absolutely.
they run off to where the first clue is, which is Chinatown. And I said out loud, boy, I hope we don't get any racism. And the good news is, we don't really.
Yeah, I sat there the entire scene being like, this feels like it might be racist, and I think I'm too white to know.
I think we should ask a Chinese person if they find... I wouldn't want to bother a Chinese person with this.
No.
So
it's not worth it.
This is what I'll say about the sequence. No one does an accent, which was the thing I was most afraid of, because Johnny Depp is there and he loves to do a voice. And then James Hong, is it? Who plays...
I believe so.
The salt shaker, who is one of my favorite voice actors. He's in Mulan, he's in Kung Fu Panda, he's the maitre d' in the Seinfeld episode where they're waiting for a table. He is so funny and so good, and I was so pleasantly surprised to hear his voice.
Yes, James Hong.
The GOAT. An incredible actor. Again, the level of talent. So basically, Sherlock has had a case here before. He is not remembered fondly, and all these, again, much like Toy Story, all these knickknacks are alive, and it's a bunch of the lucky cats that are in charge.
Right.
And Nomeo accidentally bonks into a couple of them. The chase ensues, but they do find the next clue because Sherlock is a genius, because a clock is there, and they go, oh, that's a bad gift in Chinese culture, which is true. So that's a nice bit of research there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why, but I do know that I knew that before. So I'm as smart as this Sherlock Holmes. So that's, the new Jeff Foxworthy TV show. But anyway, so they go and there's a new clue that leads them to where?
Yeah, where's the next one?
Oh, wants to go to they end up going to the museum.
Oh, there is the museum next. Okay.
Yeah, they go to the museum and also the art gallery.
Okay, so Sherlock wants to go to the art gallery, and Watson wants to go to the museum.
I can't imagine why.
And so Juliet goes with Sherlock, and Watson and Nomeo goes with Watson.
Because Nomeo and Juliet, they have a row.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, we should do this together, shouldn't we? And she's like, Sherlock seems to know what he's talking about.
Yeah. So,
if there are British people listening, I don't know if I'm sorry about this one, because this movie is bad enough. This is what they sound like in the movie.
So, yeah, Nomeo and Watson get into the museum, and there's some gargoyles.
There's another attempt at a joke, where Watson calls because he can't find him. He goes, Nomeo, don't make me say it. Wherefore art thou Nomeo? And then he appears.
Yeah. Okay, and this bothers me a lot because it's also wrong, because wherefore means why. Why are you Romeo? Not where are you? Big pet peeve for me.
Yeah, I brought it up so you could express that.
Thank you.
Because I watched that, I'm like, Melissa's going to have a thing or two to say about that. I've always interpreted wherefore as why the blankety blank.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, which
makes
correct. It
correct.
Really funny when it's like, why are you Romeo?
Yeah, it is, because it's she's upset that he holds the name of her family's enemy.
Like me and the Petersons.
Sure.
I've just made something up. Anyway, so they're there and there's some gargoyles appear, and a gargoyle
threatens them
because apparently they're inherently evil in this universe, and Juliet and Sherlock see that, and they try to get back to the museum, but alas, they don't do it in time. A chase ensues all the way up to the toppest tower of the museum.
The
and
toppest.
The tippity top. The most high tower, and we see Watson fall to his death, and Nomeo taken away by the gargoyle that can fly despite being stone.
That's right.
And then, of course, Juliet's obviously very upset and crying, and they go into the museum. And then Sherlock is like, doesn't make him, it's not going to help anybody to be sad.
Yeah.
You dumb lady.
Yep.
And then, of course, he's obviously very upset. There's a weird dream sequence. Then they both have to freeze because it's now daytime, because someone's cleaning the museum. How did they get the clue? At some point, there's a clue.
At some point, they get a clue.
Who cares?
Who
Who cares?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is around... Okay. This is around the 38-minute mark, correct?
Yeah.
This is where, and I want to know where it happened for you. I achieved my first laugh of the during the viewing of the film. And can you guess what it is? Okay, so they go. Nomeo gets dumped off by the gargoyle, and all the gnomes that have been stolen from across the gardens, they're all having a dance party.
Sure.
Because the gargoyles have been like, oh, we're just gonna keep you safe, and then we have a special surprise
That's
for
right.
you. Ooh. And Stephen Merchant goes, well, that sounded a bit ominous, but, it could also be balloons.
Yeah.
And they're all dancing.
Yeah.
And so there's this there's this gnome on a toilet. That's one of the gnomes. It's just that there's a gnome on a toilet.
Yeah.
Inherently already pretty funny. And
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I did go, okay. But here's the thing. They're all dancing, but he's doing one of those Russian dances where you kick your feet, but since he's on a toilet, it's not hard at all.
What did you say?
Okay, you know how those Russian style dances?
Yes, yeah.
Where you crouch down.
I'm there with you.
So he's on a toilet when he's doing it.
Oh, okay.
So he's just kicking his legs on the toilet. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. And then I do. Okay.
I don't think I laughed at all during this movie.
Oh, you're a better person than I.
I mean, there were a couple things that I was like,
Yeah, like the nightly news thing. I was like, oh, that's clever. That's fun. Again,
Yeah.
if Aardman had done it, I would have gone, hoo. But since it's not,
right.
I won't. So then obviously Nomeo is like, oh, they're clearly going to kill you. And then there's a gnome with big ears that's like, ooh, they're going to kill us. Oh no, what are we going to do? And then it jump cuts to, Sherlock and Juliet, who've gone to because it was a button. They found a button, and a button belongs to someone at this seedy den of characters, and there's
Sure. And
that are toys.
Right. And there's a 221.
Oh yeah,
Baker Street on the grate that they have to go through.
which okay.
Oh wait, no. First they have to
Oh right, there's this whole sequence in the park, right?
There's a whole sequence in the park with a dog that they have to get from the squeaky toy.
A well-animated dog. I thought you'd think
Yeah.
that the dog was cute.
Yeah, cute pug.
But they're on a lawnmower and they pretend to be a squirrel, and Sherlock, pardon me, is being really a jerk.
He's being a jerk because she's supposed to wag like the back of a squirrel, and she doesn't know how to do that. And he's like, you should have told me that when I hired you, that you couldn't.
And she's like, you didn't hire me. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
He's clearly replaced Watson because he has a hole in his heart.
Yeah. So they do get the clue from the dog.
Yes.
Great.
And then they go to a seedy den, which is Irene Adler, and they're all toys.
Yeah.
It's all a bit Toy Story. So this is where the second laugh happened for me.
Okay.
Because they make, for no reason, and I'm sure for no reason, and I'm sure what the reason is the same reason Pixar does this. So Irene Adler is like a Barbie doll, but she's like thick for some reason.
Yeah.
She's got like a plump butt, and that choice I was like, why did they do this? And you've heard the reason Pixar moms always have a big butt, right? It's because they can't do big breasts without feeling weird, and they're like, but we have to suggest womanhood in some way. And it's like, yeah, okay, fine. It's good for me. Elastigirl was very informative to me as a young person, is all I'm saying. It was like, Pixar, you still know what you were doing at the end of the day. But making her thick, and then she made me laugh, and then she does a musical number.
Because it's Mary J. Blige.
Because it's Mary J. Blige. And then they kick her out, and then Juliet's allowed to come back, and then she gets the next clue because they bond over how much of an ass Sherlock is.
Yeah.
And so the next clue leads them to the place in London. What is it called? The Tower.
Of London?
Perhaps the Tower of London.
Yeah, I'm
the
pretty
gate,
sure it's...
the Tower Gate.
Right. And he talks about how that was where he and Watson had their first case that they solved.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it is intercut with Nomeo and the rest of the gnomes trying to escape or whatever.
Okay, so here's the thing. The third laugh did happen in this sequence.
Great.
So the gargoyle is like, I love fairy tales, because a gnome bumps into some stuff and gets a tutu and some streamers on him. And he's like, oh, it looks like a fairy tale princess. I love fairy tales. So they decide to do a little play in order to distract so Nomeo can leave.
Yeah.
But it's Princess and the Frog. And so they have, obviously, the frog who is there and is a frog statue.
Yeah.
And then the gnome who has a crush on the frog statue.
Right. Matt Lucas's
Because he's nasty.
Sure.
No.
What is Matt Lucas's frog's name? Benny.
Oh yeah, because
is it Benvolio? Probably.
And then also because their code names are Benny, and then Tiny Dancer, because this is by Rocket Productions, named after Rocket Man.
Because also Elton John composed all the music for this.
Yes,
and arranged
and
it, I guess.
There's also an Elton John gnome at one point. The music's decent. I'll give Reg Dwight did a good job. Anyway, so there's a moment where Benny is hesitant about kissing the frog because he actually likes the frog.
Yeah.
It's all very, sort of grade school-ish. And the gargoyle does chant, kiss the frog. And that did make me laugh because it was like, what is going on with
Do you remember 3 or 4 years ago when you got really into chanting for a while?
Oh, boy, do I. I love to chant, and yeah, I do, because I love to make. Okay, so here's the thing about chanting. There's a power in it. I love to make, and I start a lot of my stand-up sets this way. I like to make people chant.
Yeah.
Because it's fun and weird and something we all agree we should do. And if you just start doing it, people will do it even if you don't ask them. Which again makes me feel powerful.
Okay, I see it.
And so sometimes when I'm in the audience and a comedian that I particularly like comes on stage, and if the syllables work out in the name, for example, my friend Brittany Brave, sometimes they'll be like, please welcome to the stage, Brittany Brave, and I go, Brittany Brave.
Yeah.
And people will do it.
Yeah.
And it's positive. And it's funny, and I feel powerful, and that's why I like chanting.
Great. Okay.
So, kiss the frog. Kiss the frog. Isn't it silly? It's like, what?
Sure, yes. So the gargoyles...
I like how I've gotten you to laugh, but the movie hasn't.
Yep, no. The gargoyles are like, oh, I think it's time to reveal our master plan, or whatever.
Yeah, it's time for your surprise. But Nomeo does escape with a couple of minor gnomes, which they seem to treat poorly. I'm going to write a video essay about class in these films, because it is... Ooh.
Have you seen Romeo and Juliet?
No.
Neither have I.
Nor I refused at the time.
Yeah.
And I was right to do it, apparently.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is.
Maybe it's a lot better.
Genius. Yeah. So then we cut to Tower of London. And all right. And Sherlock's like, hey, come out. Moriarty, come out. I know you're here. But then, who comes out but John Watson?
Yes, with the 2 gargoyles, and he's like, "Oh, why?" He's like, "Well, you never treated me well, and I wanted to prove that I could trick you and be the best person, blah, 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 blah."
Yeah.
And then he goes, "Okay, well, then can we have the gnomes back, please?" And he's like, "Yeah, they're right through this door." And then the gargoyles are like, "Pfft, idiot. We were
Yeah.
never working for you." And they scoop them all up, right?
Yeah. So,
And then they get placed in a prison, which they deduce is a boat. And then all of a sudden, Moriarty shows up on a series of cell phone screens and is like, "I never died. You just saw a bit of my face that got squished off, shattered off. So, haha. I'm still the. You thought the gargoyles were working for you, Watson, you fool. I saw exactly what to do." Because in that sequence at the beginning, as you recall, got treated poorly, and I saw the seed of bitterness that this dialogue, by the way, that I'm doing is better than what's in the movie. The seed of bitterness that I knew I could then reap once the time was right. See how a villain should talk?
yeah.
Because, okay, here's the thing about Moriarty in
Okay.
this thing. He's the most annoying thing on the face of the planet, and he makes the Moriarty from BBC Sherlock look like a normal person,
Oh, okay.
who is also very gregarious, and I would argue annoying, because he is unpleasant. Does that
Mm.
make sense? He would be such a fun guy if he wasn't terrible.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but he's annoying because he's terrible.
Yes.
Anyway, so they're like, "Oh no," because then we found out Sherlock deduces that what's going on is basically they're on a boat. All the gnomes are underneath
The Tower Bridge.
the tower bridge, and the bridge is gonna go up in the middle as it's wont to do to let the boats pass through, crushing all the gnomes underneath.
Right. And Moriarty presents this in a crude animation style.
Oh, yes, and throughout, by the way, there's these very fun sequences whenever Sherlock goes into his mind palace that are all like hand-drawn and kind of MC Escher looking.
Yeah, yeah.
It's fun.
Those are fun.
If
I
the
like
whole
that.
movie had been in that style, maybe I would have liked it more.
Maybe. So yeah, so Moriarty tries to kill all the gnomes, and
Basically, Nomeo is there on the bridge with the other lesser gnomes and distracts the people in order to not have the bridge go all the way up, because the gnomes start river dancing, which
Yeah.
is like, boy, like I sometimes reference Michael Flatley, The Lord of the Dance, in my stand-up set, and after I say it, I'm like, that is a reference for nobody my age.
uh-huh.
And this came out in 2017. I can't imagine a kid. I want to get into this in the review, but for whom is this movie made?
Yeah.
And so the bridge stops, that which allows Sherlock, Juliet, and Watson, who have somehow obtained a drone, to fly very quickly, and John Watson saves the gnomes underneath, which my third laugh happened, which was, again, seeing the toilet gnome. Just the concept of a gnome on a toilet
Yeah.
got me again. So good on you there, Rocket Productions. And then Sherlock distracts Moriarty. And then Juliet goes after Nomeo, obviously.
Yep.
And there's a chase up to the top of the bridge with Sherlock while John saves everybody.
Yep.
Nomeo and Juliet trick the gargoyles by making them be viewed by people, so they have to turn into stone in earnest. Which, here's my question, and then they fall into the water.
Yeah.
Inferring that they drown. These gargoyles are made of stone. Do they drown, or do they just sink to the bottom? Once they're out of view of the humans, can they then turn back into whatever they are outside of it? And then
This is a
swim?
good question.
There are so many rules to this world that I don't understand.
Yeah.
There are a lot of questions that I have about this film. This film I did not like. This film did not make sense. This film. So then there's a showdown between Sherlock and Moriarty. Moriarty gets the better of him and cracks his leg. Again, does not break it off. somehow, like, busts his femur. What? Somehow hurts he's a gnome and made of porcelain, and the only way they can be hurt, as established in the film, is if you shatter them. So then Moriarty goes after John and Romeo and Juliet.
Yep.
And then Sherlock is like, okay, Moriarty, let's dance. And he grabs a hold of him and goes off. There's a nice reference to Reichenbach Falls. Then Chekhov's grappling hook goes off. And Sherlock grabs it and gets pulled to safety by John Watson. And Moriarty does not sink to the bottom of the ocean, despite having a hole in his head, and he would fill up with water.
Yeah, you'd think, right?
But he floats away, and he's going, ooh, this water's so gross. Oh, this is what he sounds like, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I hate you. I'll get you again, Sherlock, if it's the second to last thing I do. Oh, no, my cell phone. A real gag in the film. He says, oh, no, my cell phone.
Yeah.
Then it ends back at the garden with
Romeo and Juliet are all happy, and they watch the fireworks from the Tower Bridge.
Oh, right.
After Moriarty has been thwarted.
Très romantique.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's back at the garden.
Yes.
It's spring. They officially announced it there. And this is where Michael Caine's voice made me laugh. Because he goes, I couldn't be more proud of you. Like that. Like, he couldn't be bothered to breathe. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And then, Sherlock and Watson in the boat have decided to do one last crime. This was a nice line. Partners in crime stopping. That was very fun. That is smart, but not funny.
Right.
Anyway, they've decided to become a team again, and they're at the what felt like a wedding, despite it not being.
Right.
And everyone's there from the thing, including like the Irene Adler and the Lucky Cats and so happily ever after.
And they plan to Cupid's Arrow Orchid, their flower, presented by Juliet.
And Benny and the frog get together at the end. And one of my last questions in my Sherlock and Good Notes is horny frog, question mark, question mark, question mark. Because the thing I said out loud was, why did they make this frog so horny? And then I thought, I've heard of a horny toad, but never a horny frog.
Yeah.
But she is very horny this whole movie. It's very strange. And then the movie stopped, and I literally, out loud, alone in my apartment, said, thank God.
Oh my God.
This movie. Melissa's walked away from the mic.
I'm so sleepy.
Oh, I thought it was because you're like, yeah, we have nothing left to say.
No, well, I mean, kind of, but it's also because I'm so sleepy, and I'm like trying not to fall asleep, actually.
Yeah, that's fair. You closed your eyes at a moment, and I was like, oh, we lost her.
Yeah, no,
She's gone.
I'm really fighting here.
So here's the thing. So if this podcast hasn't been of the highest quality, I blame Melissa. No, blame us being talkative. So this movie, this piece of cinema.
Tristan can't even keep a straight face.
This piece of cinema at its finest. I have a lot of coming away from it. They say good art raises more questions than it answers.
Oh, sure.
And by that rubric, by that Stanley rubric,
is this good art then?
No, I would rather commit seppuku than to say that sentence. So
that's what you implied.
I know, I regret it to this day. It's about the to this day.
30 seconds later, yeah. Mm-hmm. So,
I say this again: the concept could have been quite good. The execution was poor. And I'll say this again: if Aardman had done this, who, if you're not familiar. They've done Chicken Run, probably the most popular movie they've had in the States. Shaun the Sheep, Flushed Away. They're my favorite animation studio next to Studio Ghibli. They're so fun, great family movies, and they do a great job of balancing silly humor that is appropriate for adults and hijinks that is good for kids.
Yeah.
Like in Pirates Band of Misfits, if you haven't seen the film, spoilers, the villain is Queen Victoria, who then fights a pirate with 2 katanas. And that concept alone is funny.
Yeah.
So if it'd been in the hands of someone else, it very well could have been a very fun film. As it stands, I must give this a 1 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a film, we do 10, right?
Yeah.
I would like to never see this film again.
I think that can be arranged.
Thank you. I would like to avoid this for the rest of my life. I thought it'd be a funny, fun bit to watch a bad movie.
Right.
And it is. We got some enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
Talking about it. Was it worth it, though, is the numbers I'm running.
Oh, I see.
That's the numbers I'm running in my mind. Because we could have watched a different, better, worse film. Because a lot of the times, bad movies are so bad that in and of themselves, they have an, effervescent quality where you enjoy them. This was not the case.
Sure. I don't know.
Speechless.
I guess a 2.5.
Nice.
I also didn't like it, but I don't think it offended me quite as much as it offended Tristan. Like I'm not I'm not like angry.
Okay, sure.
I'm just like, oh, wow, that didn't work. All right.
Okay.
We tried.
I think I'm gonna amend. Yeah, amend. An amendment is in order because I'm gonna bump it up to a 3 because the acting is quite good.
Yeah,
the acting is quite good from everyone, including Michael Caine, who gives the flattest performance, which is impressive for Michael Caine, whose whole thing is not doing much, and he does it really well.
Yeah.
But his whole thing is, I'm gonna talk like this in every single sentence, and every word has the same emphasis, so you know it's important. So there's that. James McAvoy did all the acting is very, very good. James Hahn is there. Yeah, I love that. Johnny Depp does an insane performance. I love Chiwetel Ejiofor's voice. There's a beautiful version, you'll appreciate this, of Othello that you can get on Audible. That was it's a stage read version of the one where he plays Othello.
Wonderful.
And Ewan McGregor plays Iago, and Tom Hiddleston is the other fella, the other guy.
Cassio.
Yes. So you would like that very much, I think.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And it's good. It's quite good, and it's a good radio drama version of it. I think I still have it somewhere. But anyway, they're all very good acting. The animation style is like, it looks like Shrek, but like in HD, if that makes sense. So like nothing was offensive about that. It was just like, okay, it's not, they do look cute. And Irene was hot. And I was like, what? Why do this to me? Why you gotta do me this way? Like, I get it, it's Mary J. Blige, but why you gotta do me this way?
So I think the thing is, it's not good.
No.
But it's not bad enough to like be fun.
Yes, exactly. It's, I would say, almost a neutral experience. I have put on, like, for example, sometimes you want just some noise going on, and so I will put on, like, a YouTube video I've seen before or a live stream of something I don't really care about. It's that. It's literally, it's a movie. The question I raised was, for whom is this movie made? It is made for parents who don't want to look at their children.
Oh, sure.
You just put them in front.
Occupy them. Yeah.
Exactly. It's just that. I will say this, though. The reason I amended it to a 3, it got a point for the acting. And it got a point because it did make me laugh at 5 discrete times.
Yeah.
Which for a 1 hour and 30-minute film, because they had to, because that's what defines feature length.
Yeah.
Is terrible, but still not nothing.
True.
Toilet Gnome, if they make a piece of merchandise, I might buy it. I did find Mankini tasteless and offensive, though. Not because like it was bad or anything, but like my sensibilities.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, it was like this seems like a weird joke.
Yeah.
Did not care for it. I liked the gargoyles. I thought they had a
Oh,
fun,
yeah, they
like
were
sort
fun.
of, what are the two crooks from 101 Dalmatians? Very that sort of like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't do this. And him chanting Kiss the Frog did make me laugh pretty hard, actually, like in a way that I
Sure.
wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
Because I think I had gone so long without feeling joy in my heart that when it did occur, it hit. Maybe that was what they were intending.
Maybe.
Like, we don't have a lot of laughs, but when they hit, you'll know it. What else to say about this movie other than good night, everybody?
I mean,
if you got kids, here's the thing. Okay.
all right.
If you have kids,
Mm-hmm.
tweet at me. I will Venmo you the $4 to rent it on Amazon Prime. That's the other thing I am mad about. I paid money to see this thing.
Yeah.
It's awful. I might ask for a refund. I might, because I can't get my time back, but I can get those $4 charged on my mother's credit card back.
You could write it off as a tax exemption because we put it on the podcast.
That's very funny. If only it had been on my credit card, not my mother's, because we share an account.
yeah.
I asked her, do you want me to Venmo you $4? And so maybe I haven't. But for my mother's sake, I might
Sure.
go to court.
Uh-huh.
Small claims court. The smallest of claims court. Again, also this had a lot of potential, and that does kind of bother me. Of like, maybe I kind of want to watch Romeo and Juliet to see if it's any better.
I do too.
Is that sick?
It's pathological.
Is that sick? We'll have to do it.
Yeah. Not for the podcast.
Not for the podcast. I would not.
We can't even stretch that far.
Anyway, the point is that I was trying to make. If you have kids, I will Venmo you the $4. Have them watch it, and then please let me know what they think. I think the intended audience is between 4 to 8, it seems.
Something like that.
Because there's like kind of, what
Yeah.
would be known as potty humor, but it's also simple enough.
It
Also,
is rated PG.
So, yeah, for body humor, I would assume.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to take it down to 2.5.
We landed on the same thing.
Yeah,
Finally.
we finally got there. Because the mystery was so obvious.
Oh, sure.
I was like, okay, it's going to be Watson, but it can't actually be Watson because it's so obvious, so it actually has to be Moriarty. Okay, there we go. And then I knew that from literally minute 3.
Wow.
And then I had to sit there. What this podcast feels like is, if you're listening and you're not familiar with the podcast Till Death Do Us Blart.
Yep.
Where they rewatch Kevin James's masterpiece, Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. No subtitle, weird. Once every year, and it's gotten out of hand. They being the McElroys, and then the fellas from The Worst Idea of All Time.
Yeah.
It feels like that. It feels like we've put ourselves through it. I kind of want to watch it again.
Oh no.
To see if
no.
I can glean anything from it.
Oh no, is this our death blart?
Yeah,
Is this our death blart?
To see what, because I want to show other people, to be like, what do you make of this? What is this? Oh, but it is past our bedtimes
It is.
by
and
a lot.
we're gonna skip next week and possibly the week after as well.
Yeah, I'm out of town.
And it's the holidays. And
Yeah.
have a good
Have a good.
last couple of weeks of the year. Don't do very much. It's not worth it. No, like,
You're right, but
take it easy.
It's not worth it. Life's not worth living after seeing this film.
No, it's just
If
take
I
it
do kill
easy,
myself,
rest-
this is going to be in my note.
Oh, jeez. Take it easy, rest up, and we will be back at you next time with something else.
Do not watch this film. Do watch this. I want to know what you think of it, but don't watch this film. I'm telling you to watch it with something. Watch it while you're on your phone. I call this meeting the Amateur Detection Club to a close. Watch a TikTok while you're doing it. Goodbye.
Gavel sound. Jingle bells.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.